The grading of the Carolina Hurricanes 21-22 season continues. In this episode, we will be grading the Carolina Hurricanes star forward, Sebastian Aho. How did he fare in this year's final round of grades? Find out in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you are listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. As always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Thursday afternoon. Follow Locked On Hurricanes on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And in today's episode, we will be diving into the individual players for the report cards. In the previous episode, we graded the team as a whole. Quick recap there. I gave the team a B for the season, and the majority of the listeners also gave the team a B. And now we will be diving into the actual players, and we will be starting with Sebastian Aho. Sebastian, he had a really great season, and we'll listen to his exit interview in a little bit and just the frustration he felt coming out of a disappointing end to the season, how things are going to motivate him heading into next season and this offseason. We'll listen to all that here in a little bit. But, looking at, his grade for the season, we did the same thing. Everyone that voted on this stuff, you guys know how that stuff was laid out. And me personally, I gave Sebastian Aho an A- on the season. 50% of the listeners gave him an A. There was a lot of positive for Sebastian's season, and a really big thing that stood out to me, it was a small thing, but also a big thing, is that he avoided a slow start to the season. That's been something that's kind of been an issue for him kind of year after year. He takes a little bit to get going, and obviously once he gets going, he's great, but he was able to avoid that this year, and I think that was really important. That's going to be important for him, just going forward as just a player, avoiding those slow starts to the season. That was really big for me. And again, just growth as a player. I mentioned it in the team video or team episode, how guys were continuing to develop and get better, and that was a big thing there. Because that was kind of frustrating for me, as a fan, and then obviously everyone else as well. It's kind of frustrating to see your star player constantly get off to slow starts of the season, and that wasn't the case this year. I also think he took a big step forward, in terms of his overall game as well. Obviously, avoiding that slow start, but had he not missed some time due to COVID, he likely would have hit the 40 goal mark for the first time in his career. He finished with 37 goals. I would have liked to seen him get 40, and he was definitely on pace to set that career high for goals and assists as well. But again, I can kind of chalk that up to him missing time. But just his game as a whole, he really just seemed to be taking it to the next level. He's a guy that, year after year, he just consistently gets better. And this year, we saw him having an A on the front of his jersey. And I think that was really great for him to be able to take that leadership role on the team. Guys like Jordan Staal, they're not going to be around forever. Jordan Staal, he's heading into the final year of his 10-year deal here with the Hurricanes. And obviously, I don't think he's retiring this season. I don't think he'll leave the Hurricanes, but time of his career, it's going to come to a close sooner rather than later. So we need these younger guys, stepping up and, getting into these leadership roles. And that's what we saw with Sebastian Aho. I also predicted at the start of the season that we'd see him return to the All-Star game, that we'd see the return of All-Star Sebastian Aho, and that is exactly what we saw this year. And I was thrilled to have gotten that prediction right on the season, of course, but it wasn't a thing. He just went to the All-Star game because we had to send someone. We dealt with that for many years, guys. You all know how it was. It's like, oh, All-Star games, coming around the corner, we gotta send someone. Oh, we'll just send Justin Falk. Obviously not a slight against him, but Sebastian Aho, he's All-Star worthy. And same with Frederick Anderson. We'll talk more about him, whenever we get to, his episode. But, Sebastian Aho played at an All-Star level. Obviously, there can be some improvement as well. There is, definitely some negatives there. And, for me personally, it definitely really just kind of comes down to one thing. And it was an issue with the entire team, but also, I look at him specifically because of the high profile role he has. Like, he's the face of the franchise. He's the guy, and he was kind of hot and cold throughout the season. And, we saw that as the team as a whole. Your top guys didn't necessarily play like top guys, and, they kind of got cold. And yes, I know stuff like that is going to happen throughout the season. It's going to happen with the Hurricanes. It's going to happen with the Rangers. It's going to happen with the Jets, the Coyotes. It happens with every single team in hockey, and not just hockey, every sport as well. Players are going to go through slumps, but depth scoring can only take you but so far. And with Sebastian's role on the team, he's a guy that, he needs to be one of those guys that's producing game in, game out. And because so often, again, he just hot and cold. It was a bit of a consistency issue sometimes with him. And then you get away from the regular season and get into the playoffs. I mean, he had some moments, but as a whole, he was a bit of a non-factor in the playoffs. And I think that's not something we can have. And that's something that's really going to need to change heading into next season. And again, Sebastian is a young guy. He's obviously still continuing to learn and develop. And of course, I do take that into consideration. But again, he's not, a third, fourth line guy. He's not a depth guy where, his, hot and cold nature, or, not necessarily showing up on the score sheet as much as he should, doesn't show up as much. He is a top guy. He is the top guy for the Hurricanes. So whenever he isn't producing, it is under a microscope more than a guy like Steven Lawrence or Jesper Fast, a depth guy. We obviously want those guys producing as well, of course, but again, Sebastian, he's held to a different level. He's a top guy. He's the franchise player. So he's going to be held to that kind of standard. So whenever he was a bit of a non-factor in the playoffs, that's a pretty big thing, especially when your team was struggling the way they are, or were, I guess you should say now, because they're eliminated. But he needs to be that top guy. And I remember, I forget what game it was, but he had a breakaway chance, and the commentator there, like, saying, wouldn't want anyone better, than Sebastian Aho to be taking care of this breakaway. And then he went down there and missed. Because that was the thing this playoff. He really struggled on breakaways. And again, he's not a depth guy. He's the top guy, so he's going to be held to a bit of a higher standard than some of these other guys. So heading into next season, there's definitely a few things that I do want to see him improve upon. But before we get into that, I do want to listen to his exit interview from this season, and we will do that right after this. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket right now. So save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, or even 100% more on the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and their prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you can need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, new carpet, and those ever-important air conditioning parts for the summer. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to all of your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Don't forget, write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. Now it's time to take a listen to Sebastian Aho's exit interview from this season. As I mentioned, he was obviously very frustrated from the way the season ended, and this is going to be something that motivates him going into next season and this offseason. It's also very frustrated with the amount of penalties that the Hurricanes took, and I fully agree with him, honestly. It was a very frustrating way for the season to end, but let's hear it from the man himself.
How have you managed to deal with the disappointment in the last 2 days? Has it kind of rubbed off a little bit, or how do you feel?
I mean, still hurts, right? It's gonna obviously just gonna sting for a while, and yeah, it is what it is. Gotta move on, but definitely gonna remember this feeling for a long time.
Rod said that at an interview at the All-Star break, he remembered the look on your face after the game last year against Tampa when it all ended as a source of inspiration for him. Where does this compare to that?
So sorry. Yeah.
How does this compare to the feeling of when things are?
Probably even worse. Feels yeah, it's not a great feeling to, I don't know, feel like a missed opportunity to do something special with this group, and obviously it's just hopefully these feelings, these experiences gonna help us to next season to when you remember how bad it feels, and ever want to feel that again, right? So that's we go back home and we get better, and we're gonna be prepared, and even even better players, and have these experiences kind of help us to push to the next level, and I'm confident that we can do it.
Do you think this was the best Canes team you've been on?
Sorry?
Do you think this was the best Canes team you've been on?
Probably, yeah.
Jordan Martinoff mentioned that, discipline was maybe an issue all year, and that bled over into the postseason a little bit. And he said that maybe the leadership group needs to call guys out more when there's things like that happening. Do you think that's something that maybe was missing this season? Is maybe there needs to be a little, I don't know if confrontation is the right word, but if guys are making mistakes or taking bad penalties, does it need to be a more of a vocal thing?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, we took too many penalties. That's a fact. You know, it's can't give the other team like easy ones. There's some penalties that you can live with, but there was too many, you know, bad ones to that cost us obviously big time. But yeah, maybe those are one of the things. These are the things we're gonna figure out as a group. Everyone has to do it, you know, their own thought work, and then do it together. And we talk and we learn, and we come back better.
Especially, you've always been a motivated kind of player. The disappointment from this year, is this something that's going to drive you over the summer, you think, just to add to that motivation level?
100%. Absolutely. I mean, just use the anger and just the disappointment to fuel my off-season work for sure, and try to do whatever I can to just be better. It's not necessarily big difference, but just pushing even one more inch, or be at least a little better to to be able to come out of these series as a winner.
So it'll stick with you all the way to training camp next year, you think? That same motivation?
Yeah.
Disappointment?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you sense that might be true up and down the lineup of the guys, especially the young core that's coming back? Do you think they're all fueled by a certain frustration like you feel?
Yeah, I mean this team is very competitive, very hardworking guys, and I know that all the guys who play with us, it's just like everyone is disappointed, right? And everyone wants to be better. Everyone wants to win. So I know for a fact that the guys are gonna come back and be even more hungry.
Do you have an idea why things like special teams didn't carry over? Like for most of the season, the power play was fine. The penalty kill was #1 in the league, but didn't carry over into the postseason the way you needed it to at a critical moment.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question, right? I mean, I wish we would find an answer for that a little bit earlier to be able to produce on the power play, and obviously kill a little bit better penalties. But I don't know exactly why, but these are the things we have to figure out, and we will figure them out, and it's on me, and it's on a bunch of other guys who just has to be better on these certain moments on the ice. And yeah.
Were you 100% healthy throughout the playoff run?
Yep.
On the other side of things, it was a big first year for Seth Jarvis, and he's now looked at as an integral part of the youthful core of this team. How impressed were you by his year as a whole?
Very, very impressed. I mean, just very, I don't know how to say, coachable, like player. It's just, even for myself, it was awesome to play with him, because you kind of see like he's learning new stuff, and how quickly he bought in the system, and obviously he's a great talent. He can skate, he can shoot, he's a very skilled player. So sometimes it's just as a young guy, you maybe try to it's tough to keep that consistent level in the games, and I feel like it was easy to pull back in the right mindset. It was to me, I enjoyed how much he he listens, he learns, and he executes. So I'm pretty sure that he's gonna have a great career.
Did he remind you a little bit of yourself at that age, or was he even better than you were in handling all that kind of stuff?
I mean, Yeah, maybe he's definitely, he wants to get better and he wants to learn new stuff, and I think that's very important. He's not shy to stuff too, and so that helps to get better, to just willing to learn from the others, and obviously he's skilled enough to, if when he figure out all the stuff, he's gonna execute on the ice pretty well.
As for yourself, how can you be a better player next year?
Well, it starts from just off-season work. I'm do whatever I can to be as best shape as I can, and gonna work on some stuff to be better physically out there. Then it's the other part is try to analyze what went wrong, what we did good, what we did not so good, and try to learn from the mistakes, and just it's these experiences. I truly think they're gonna help us in the future.
How much are you looking forward? I know this is far off, but to the outdoor game.
Yeah, that's for sure it's gonna be awesome. I mean, it's our fans, they deserve it too. It's they've been loud and they've been awesome. They've been so supportive for us. So it's gonna be pretty awesome to the fans and the players for sure. Really looking forward to that.
All right, thanks, Fishy.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Sebastian.
And like he said in there, we obviously, very, very frustrated about, the way the season ended, things that could have gone better, things that didn't go the way they should have, the way guys should have stepped up, not taking the penalties. But I do think another thing, that really stands out is, the way, he was praising Seth Jarvis. And that was something that really stood out to me. And, I mentioned it, in, multiple episodes, just, how good this kid is and the career that lies ahead of him. And, he had a hell of a season. Seth Jarvis did, and so did Sebastian Aho. He absolutely did. And I'm very much looking forward to what we see from him next year. Obviously, like you said, at the tail end there, we have the outdoor game next year. And I think that is going to be something that's very, very important for the franchise as a whole. A non-traditional hockey market, a small market, a team that was mediocre for a very long time, and now that they're a consistent playoff team, a team that can contend for a Stanley Cup, a team that is winning. They have a very dedicated fan base. We all know that. And I think it is important and it's also going to be the 25th anniversary season of the Hurricanes being in Raleigh. That's big. And Sebastian Aho, he's, again, the franchise guy. And I'm excited to see him suit up in that game. I very much am. And next season, there's going to be some stuff he needs to work on, and we will discuss that right after this quick break. While the Carolina Hurricanes might no longer be in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we've still got the Eastern Conference Final going on, and Colorado Avalanche have stamped their ticket to the Stanley Cup Final. And if you want to place a bet on any of those games, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's NBA Finals, NHL Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, and of course all the latest fighting news from MMA to UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, what does Sebastian Aho need to do next season to continue to improve upon what he's already improving upon? He's a guy that gets better year after year after year. So, obviously, I have no doubt that it'll be the same case next year, that he's going to continue to improve. And really, my main thing with him next year is just consistency. I want him to be a bit more consistent, less of this hot and cold nature where he'll kind of go from a really big hot streak to being invisible. And I get, okay, you're not necessarily going to score a goal every single game for 82 games. Obviously, I know that. But again, there's quite often, he's just a non-factor, just invisible out there. And that is something I want to see him improve upon, whether it's just playmaking ability, laying out some hits, scoring goals, whatever it may be. I do want to see some more consistent play from him. Again, not that he's bad by any means. He's an all-star for a reason. He's a part of the leadership group of the team for a reason. So, again, not slighting against him at all, but I do want to see him be a bit more consistent next year. I would also like to see him hit that 40 goal mark for the season next year for the first time in his career. Again, I do think he very, very well could have done that this season. I 100% think he could have, had he not missed some time due to COVID. And again, that consistency issue, maybe if he didn't go through as many slumps as he did, maybe he hits it. Obviously, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. It's obviously a big what if at this point. But I would like to see him take that next step. We saw Andrei Svechnikov hit the 30-goal mark for the first time in his career this year. That was something I wanted to see from him, and he did that. So I would like to see Sebastian get that 40-goal mark for the first time in his career. And next year, just see him continue to develop as a franchise player. Just year after year, he gets better and better, of course. And I want to see that trend just continue next year. That's the big thing. I don't want to see him take a step back at all. And I think the big thing he just needs to work on is being a bit more consistent. And that's really about it with him. That was really my only slight against him, was his hot and cold nature and that consistency stuff, and then just how he wasn't there in the playoffs. And then obviously, should the Hurricanes be in the playoffs next year, definitely want to see him being a big part of the Hurricanes there in a good way, not a bad way like this past season. But that does it for Sebastian Aho's grade on the season. He got an A- from me and an A from you, the listeners. Next up, we will have Teuvo Teravainen. The good, the bad, my grade, your grade, his exit interview. Same stuff as this episode, just with Teuvo instead. So in the meantime, make sure you follow Locked On Hurricanes on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96, and subscribe to the show on YouTube. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode.